What is up, y'all? It is Grant with another episode of the Groovy Files. Today, I got with me Donovan
Yo,
and D1, the only, the one of the biggest Tyler fans I know, Javah.
Hey yo, what it do?
So today we're gonna be talking about Tyler Creator and his legacy and just rap in general. Starting off, I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think a rapper defines the blog era like Tyler does. Like when I think of the phrase, I immediately think of Our Future, like no other collective. Um, Also with the Gambino episode kind of being like a couple weeks back, when we talk about like rappers being like, well, just rappers being like accomplished in multiple lanes, Tyler is up there too, because he got a clothing line, he has a successful TV show, not to mention a critically acclaimed rapper. How you guys feel like that?
I definitely agree. I also remember for the 2018 Grinch film, Tyler was on the soundtrack, and that definitely caught me off guard because like I remember I want to say this was during the Wolf era. He talked about how he wanted to be like a director and jazz like that. And he came out with the soundtrack for the Grinch movie. And like that was just kind of like a surreal moment because outside of the little hip hop bubble, it's like he's slowly like venturing into the uh what is it, sound design, sound right, playwrights era, movie stuff, which
Yeah.
I think is pretty dope.
yeah, I think with my favorite thing about Tyler and all that he's done is like the growth that he's been able to have since he started. Um and just the way that he's defined himself since he came out from eating a cockroach to having a sound, like you said, having a soundtrack to a Disney movie. Like he's made truly made something of himself beyond what people tried to put him in a box as.
I think with like Tyler, just like my opinion, I didn't become a Tyler. I was, I'll say for me, I wasn't an Odd Future fanatic coming out right out the gate. Um, so like I started really, really liking Tyler when I would wake up for school one morning and NTV was on and I saw the I fucking hate you video and would like play like every single morning. And I was like, dang, this is kind of interesting. I'm gonna check him out. Like I had heard of Tyler like doing like eating a roach like in 2011, but like I wasn't like a hard like I was like okay, I'm a fan of Tyler now until like 2013, and then that's when I went back and like peeped all the deep cuts and all that type of stuff. Um, I think Tyler the Creator's legacy is, of course, what we just stated before, being like extremely accomplished in multiple lanes. But Tyler the Creator is like one of the only people I can say, okay, I'm stopping everything I'm doing and I'm gonna listen to this album. Like he really one of the only. I feel like in a rap space, Kendrick is like the only person I think of. Like I hold to that, standard. Like Tyler is there. Tyler is second on that listing. Like if Tyler say he dropped an album, like right now, out of surprise, I am immediately putting my stuff down and going to go listen to this shit because he always brings something very, very new to the table. And I love that he said that he's falling in love with rap again. So even though I do like Igor, I'm glad we're potentially getting more and more like he's staying kind of in that rap course. How did y'all feel about Call Me If You Get Lost? Because also I do want to say he made Gangsta Grillz tapes popular again.
I was ecstatic for the project because I remember he was tweeting about it. He was like, "Oh, it's like Wolf Haley again, or like Ace," and like using his old monikers from like the early like 2010s during his like Bastard and like Wolf era. And I was just like, all right, I'm gonna give it a chance. Not to hate on Igor, but like it wasn't what I expected. Usually when I go to Tyler, I was like, I usually expect some sort of bars, but then Igor was like a complete detour from that. Which to say isn't bad. It was just like didn't leave me room for much imagination on what to expect on the next project. And so, Call Me If You Get Lost is coming out. He does his rollouts with like the pictures and like his little skits that he uploads on YouTube and such. And then, it drops and I hear DJ Drama, and my goodness, I was like ecstatic. I remember I was driving in DC and it was like, midnight, and like I pulled over to the side of the road just to like pay attention to the whole project. And I'm like, this is one of the best decisions I've ever made because I just love that album.
With me, like, I say this about Tyler and Call Me If You Get Lost. I was everybody knows how much of a Damo Genesis fan I am. So when I saw that nigga on the album, I was like, oh shit, I'm finna be in for something. And it was great. Also, I would like to say that I feel like Run It Up is a Mona Lisa song for Tyler, funny enough, because of course he has a bunch of songs that you can say that summarize career, but I feel like Run It Up is kind of like, one thing about Tyler, he gonna let you know that you need to live life in the moment and have fun before everything kind of what I was gonna say. He gonna have fun with everything, and that he's gonna make sure that his life is well spent. So I feel like Run Up was great. I think I say this with Wolf. I feel like is, of course, like Goblin is like the project like everybody loves from like back in the day, like when he first came on the scene. But like I feel like Wolf is like the most. I personally feel like that is the, like, if I had to take one album from his catalog, I'm taking Wolf. Like I feel like it's easily like the most important thing he's ever put out, and I feel like it captures that, it defines his career. It's like that. It's like career defining, basically. It's like, okay, I'm not really too much in that early OF stage where I was kind of childish, but also I'm taking rap more serious now. Like I always thought like rap, he took rap serious, but at the same time, it's kind of like the early OF stuff. I like it to an extent.
Yeah.
But it's just it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I'm like, I'm like 25 now. But like Wolf is kind of like, okay, he's taking this music so serious. I really loved it, especially with the final track being, of course, Lone. Answer being on the album. What's it called? 48, which is I think is a phenomenal song.
It's underrated.
Especially I think that's the best hook that I've ever heard on the Tyler album.
Yeah, I can see that.
What is your personal favorite Tyler album, Javah?
So for me, obviously, I gotta go with Call Me If You Get Lost. But like before that, it was definitely Wolf. Like if I could do the, like leeway segue, be like, oh, Call Me If You Get Lost is 1A and Wolf is 1B. Like Wolf is definitely an album that I definitely hold close because one, I remember that was the first concert I ever went to was during his Wolf tour. And like when I heard the songs live, it just like elevated it to a different level. And I'm like, holy crap, am I actually listening to the music? And then, just the sounds that he explored on Wolf, he was still pretty, I wouldn't say immature, but like still getting a handle on his production. You can definitely see the growth. But Wolf, compared to Goblin and Bastard and his other OF projects, had a variety of sounds that just made it feel like he was setting up his own little universe, with his skits and then like the jazz influence on like Tree Home 95, and then you have the like hard hitting upbeat song of like Damo 23, and then that like I wouldn't call it boom bap, but like the hip hop vibe of like parking lot and stuff like that. It just, really showcased his influences. And, that really showed just how much of an artist he was to me. And so for the longest, I was like, yeah, Wolf is his best. You can't say anything else. And so, I definitely have a heavy bias for that project. I cannot lie.
I feel like
I-
always. Wait, you go ahead, Donovan.
Oh, my fault. I was gonna say I feel very cliche saying this.
You cutting out a little bit, man.
My favorite project, and I know a lot of times people kind of like, oh wait, how's it sound now? My fault.
All right, you good now.
I was gonna say I sound kind of cliche saying this, but I honestly think Flower Boy is my favorite project. I know a lot of times like that be what a lot of what newer Tyler fans got on, and they missed all the OF stuff and the really raunchy raps and things like that. As someone who was there from the beginning, I still feel like it was the kind of perfect encapsulation and the perfect segue into what he was doing before and what he's doing now. Like, I feel like it's the perfect middle ground into everything. The production is insane. All the songs are pretty much good. I Ain't Got Time is one of the best songs he's ever made. I mean, See You Again is one of his more defining songs. You got Pothole with Jaden Smith, Glitter, Dropping Seeds with another classic Lil Wayne verse. Like, that is truly my favorite Tyler project.
I think I will say, if I had to say Tyler's most important project, I'm picking Wolf. However, I think Flower Boy is my favorite album as well, because I feel like it's one of those albums where, first of all, let me say this. I don't know how people said I Ain't Got Time don't fit that album. I Ain't Got Time fits that album. I don't know what they was talking about. I ain't gonna lie to you. But I feel like Flower Boy is so great because, of course, the production matches the theme of the album, but also it has so many thematic, like so many songs I can call Tyler's thematic peak. Like for instance, Ford, like he has some elite pen work on this shit. Like I remember the day 911, not Who Dat Boy dropped, and Tyler was teasing it with like the B on Twitter and all that shit. Like I was okay. I can't wait for this shit to drop. And then I saw Who Dat Boy. I watched the Who Dat Boy video for ASAP, very creative, loved the hit shit out of it. But when I got to the very end and I heard 911 Mr. Lonely, I was like, oh shit, I gotta hear this album like now. Cause I fucking love this song. But yeah, like you have songs like Don was saying, like November. November is like Tyler one of the rappers where I feel like it's like 7 or 8 songs where I can say, damn, that's that nigga best pen work at the same time. And I can't really rank them. But like November is like great. Especially that second verse. Let me see what else. And of course, Pothole. I think I love the rhyme scheme and the cadence of Pothole more than I do the what you call it. Because if he making it feel like you kind of on a road and you driving and shit, and you're looking out for the pothole, like you feel like you in his shoes. Let's see what else. I feel like early Tyler, like with like what's this shit called? With Goblin. I feel like Goblin kind of, I say this, I feel like the fanaticism with Goblin is just OD in 20, especially like if you're an adult in 2022, like it's very raunchy to listen to, like Donovan was saying. But I will say the songs that are good on there are really fucking good. Like You have, of course, Yonkers.
She.
She, of course. Her is kind of creepy, so I don't really like it too much. I love Analog 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I think I love both of them. The Odd Future Volume 2 tape is when I feel like everybody started to take rap more seriously. Because like I feel like outside of Real Bitch, I love every other song on that tape. Like Sam is Dead. Like Sam is Dead is like peak. Cause that song I think that song solidifies the very end of the whole saga, like the Bastard Wolf, Goblin saga.
Trilogy. Yeah.
Like that video. So I love that. In terms of in the blog era, how does rap look? Like, how does rap look without Tyler the Creator and Odd Future in it?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, I'm gonna have to make a lot of assumptions here because I'm gonna like venture into areas of art that I'm not too well versed in. But one of the biggest things would definitely be the fashion. Would I feel would be a bit more different because the way Tyler presents not just his clothes but just like his aesthetics with the bright colors and the assortment of palettes. He brought like a vibrance to it.
Making I'm not saying like he's super duper like he invented fashion, but I kind of want to say he made wearing lighter colored clothes,
I'd say he reinvented it.
more not acceptable, but he made it to where it's kind of like, okay, these colors, like, like light green, light blue, light pink, all this type of stuff. He kind of made it kind of like acceptable isn't the word, but I want to say cooler. Of course, everybody was wearing All Future apparel. Like back in the day, like in high school, there was literally a whole there was like a whole little preset fit that people will wear. People will wear the Vans, people will wear the skinny jeans, people will wear
Supreme.
The Odd Future Supreme shirt, Diamond Supply. Well, it's Diamond. He didn't create Diamond. He wasn't a Diamond Supply guy. He was wearing his own shit. But and along with Supreme,
he gave the skater aesthetic a more mainstream appeal for sure.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like, and people, of course, you say Vans like more Pack. The Pack would people would say the Pack made Vans cool, of course, and like you can't really dispute it. But I do feel like Tyler did add into making like skater shoes and like Vans in general more popular in the mainstream.
Oh.
For me, I think that, and then outside of fashion, I think he made like being an alternative black cooler, or at least more mainstream.
Sure.
I feel like that's something that a lot of people won't want to give him credit for, but that is something that people felt more acceptable for not being a certain way and just being like, oh, I can like whatever, and it doesn't really matter. Like, I know other rappers were talking about at the time, but Tyler really kind of spearheaded that movement. And then just musically, like, I cannot imagine the rap landscape without Tyler, Earl, Mellow Hype, Damo, Frank. You wouldn't have gotten like ASAP Rocky's second renaissance. You got some of Lil Wayne's best verses on Tyler's production. You got one of Kanye's best verses on Tyler's production. I don't think Kali Uchis would be as big as she is without Tyler.
Rex Orange County.
You're right about that.
Like, he's did a lot of, and then of course like the internet. So Sid, Steve Lacy, like without the internet, you have no Steve Lacy. So like all the stuff that Steve Lacy has had his hands on and his like short but wonderful career wouldn't exist. Like without our future, without Tyler, rap is so different, and it's
It's
definitely for the
drastically
worse.
different. I would argue and say that it made more obscure production styles appeal to the mainstream. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, like, and we of course we talk about like, this is one thing I'll say. People always like drive home and act like our future is only influenced by Eminem. And I hate that shit so much because there's definitely not. Like, it's, you can say like people only talk about the raunchiness, like of like, oh yeah, they're influenced by Eminem. They're very productive. Like they're influenced by Eminem. Our future is influenced by specifically Tyler, the Neptunes. Our future is influenced by MF Doom. Our future is influenced by, I would say New York. I would say New York rap as a whole as well.
Oh, for sure.
I'm trying to think of more people, but in short, like our future may being like our future may deviating from the mainstream in terms of sound seem like more acceptable. Like Donovan said, like I'm not gonna sit here and lie like at like that you know, like that phrase that Earl said, like too black for the white kids and too white for the blacks. Like that's still like that's a valid thing. Like people felt that way before, and it wasn't just because it wasn't one of those things like where social media likes to do it at like, oh, you got bullied because it's your fault. Like no, people definitely did that. People definitely got picked on for having interests that weren't necessarily a big mainstream thing. And I feel like Tyler was like, okay, you can, even though it was kind of edgy, like at the time, I still feel like the point still stands. Like Tyler was one of those people who's like, okay, if you like these certain things, it's cool because there are other people out there like you that like them. Like, so I feel like his impact is, I feel like in short, his impact is like live your life. Like you only have one life. Like it's your, like you're we're only here for a short amount of time. So you need to live as your like true self and express yourself in the way you want to do. And like Donovan said, I guess this is a hot take, not sure, but what's the last collective that has been as successful in short of all of their members in amount of quote unquote, I would say classic projects streaming for a wide variety of members, not just concentrating into like 2 or 3 or 4 people. Like, of course, TDE is in the conversation, but the internet, well, let's go down the list. You have Wolf, critically acclaimed, Flower Boy, critically acclaimed, Call Me Get Lost, critically acclaimed, Igor, critically acclaimed, Earl, I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside is considered, I would go ahead and say, I think it's a classic album. SRS, people love it, people hate it, but it's critically, like, I can go down the list, like Mellow High, that album, even though it was one album, I felt like it was something that made people take our future more seriously again, like in terms of rap. I'm not gonna say it's a classic, but No Idols, definitely a classic. Oh well, yeah, No Idols definitely a classic.
Classic.
Dom has the Under the Influence tapes. I would say, of course, Frank Ocean, one of the best pens we've ever seen. Blonde, Coming on Scene with Novocaine, Channel Orange, the internet having Ego Death, which is people, that's a classic. I'm definitely gonna say that. And just I would just say in general, like Odd Future's legacy is you can be obscure, or like you can deviate from the mainstream and still be successful. It's all in the charisma and how you market yourself and things like that, and just how important charisma is as a rapper in general. Like Tyler Creator has out of this world charisma to where it don't matter if he could disappear off the face of the earth for 2 or 3 years, like 4 or 5. I don't care. But people come back and listen to whatever he fucking dropping. I tell you that shit. And Our Future did an incredible job of showing how to build a core fan base. It's one thing I will say. Like, they are the blueprint for that. For their generation.
I would say that Odd Future is also the blueprint of taking advantage of what the internet gave them. Or like, not the internet, the group, but the internet. And it's just like, with the fact that they were all able to capitalize off the momentum that Tyler was able to give Earl, and then that Earl was able to give the group, and what Damo was able to give. And like, everyone was able to take advantage of that and able to make it their own. I don't know what these other groups would have been able to do, or what these groups were able to do. Like, if Our Future would have came out in the 90s, of course, not all of them would have been as big, but they took advantage of the circumstances they were given, and then they were all able to separate themselves and be more than just another member of Odd Future. And that is something that I truly commend them for, because you really can't say that for a lot of groups. And thinking off the top of my head, and I really can't think of any other group that was able to do what they've done besides Wu-Tang Clan. And everyone else is either like, either they're carried very heavily by a couple members, or other people just didn't get that appeal, or they never found a lane, and so they carried very hard by the group. But Odd Future all of them are basically able to separate themselves extremely well.
No, I definitely agree. And like, I think another big heavy aspect of Odd Future is how very DIY they were in their beginnings, from their music videos and little skits and productions and songs. Like, it was very them, like, without much of like a industry cosign when starting out. It was just like a bunch of kids who, you guys, or not you guys, just like in general, people would classify them as alternative. It's almost as if it was like a punk type thing where they didn't fit into a certain category. They were, too raunchy for the conscious stuff, and they were too noisy, and like had a very reminiscent sound of what the mainstream may be. So they couldn't really be backpack. And they weren't just strictly bars. There was just a lot of influence and a lot of things that were just melding together. And definitely, as Tyler being like the poster boy, making just a simple image of a donut for the whole thing to be just iconic, to the point where it's like, if you are a huge fan, or if you've known the legacy, you just draw the donut and you already, boom, think of it, which is kind of crazy because of how simple and common the donut is. It's not like something anybody's like, yeah, Tyler the Creator invented the donut, or like, that symbol is his in terms of the legacy that he's established, which is something that I find to be a phenomenal feat in of itself, because, it wasn't like he tried to push the donut as like the forefront. It was just like, here's a donut slapped on top of the things we do, whether they're working on like a show like Loiter Squad at the time, or making a compilation album with each other, coming out with clothing lines. It was just a really, I guess you could say, defining brand that just fit them, because at the time they're like these youngins, these young adults, these teenagers just doing stuff. And it's like, me, when I think of like teenagers and stuff, and then like you associate a donut with them, I'll be like, yeah, that's fitting. It works. It's one of those things that, like, in hindsight, you told me like, oh, what would be a great brand image? I wouldn't be like, yeah, donut. But then it's like, the way they move, they act, the things they talk about, the way they show themselves off, it's fitting to a point where it's just like it speaks for themselves, just how well in tune they were with the image they were trying to give off.
Tyler's greatest accomplishment might be that he took the donut image away from cops. I ain't heard a donut stereotype with a cop since Future took off.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like it's crazy. Shifted a whole narrative.
But we gonna wrap it up there. Thank y'all for watching episode 12 of the Groovy Files, Tyler Creator. Also, Donovan is a rapper. Go check out his music. Javah is also a rapper. Go check out his music as well. But other than that, everybody take it easy. We out.
Peace.